Hello, 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 and thank you for joining me. It's late February 2025. It's great to see you here again. I'm going to do a little bit different of a show today. I usually speak with musicians, creators, artists of all stripes from all over the world, but this is TFTC. It means we're in this corner, but we can talk with just about anybody who we want to talk with. And I really am trying to reach out and go beyond the scope of just the arts, even though this is the arts. Everything is an art when you really, really think about that. So today is no different. I speak with the Mailbox Maven, and her name is Theresa Oschmann, and she's up in the Finger Lakes area of New York, way up there in snowy New York right now. And we just have a really great discussion about what it takes to be an entrepreneur and to do direct marketing campaigns. I know that could sound really nice and dry and everything for a lot of people, especially if you're used to me speaking with people who are connected with big music stars and stuff like that. I haven't actually gotten the big music stars on here. That is yet to happen, although I have been working on it. It's many years now, actually. We're well over 150 episodes in on my little podcast, but I like to expand my horizons. And I actually think this is pretty fascinating today to speak with somebody like Teresa, who really struck it out on her own doing something like this. And you know what the greatest thing is? She can do all this stuff from home, and it really talks about how much spirits one can have. She has a really cool story too about growing up and coming to the US and really has many chapters in her life. So it's just this is beyond even somebody who's an entrepreneur, but somebody who really has just worked it and has done so well for herself and is into all that self-improvement and business stuff. Really is a huge fan of Tony Robbins and people like that. But listen to our chat. I really encourage you, and I'll talk with you on the other side of this.
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for joining me today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I'm really curious. I've come across on your material through your website, and you're on this site called Alignable. And I'm
Yep,
just like, it's just curiosity more so than anything. My podcast really has like artists and creators, but I
sure.
like having business leaders and mix it up a little bit. So I just, it's very much my curiosity as to what somebody like you does. So I really appreciate it and you taking the time out to speak with me today.
Absolutely. I read your profile on Alignable as well. And I love what you're doing and what the folks that you're interviewing. I love your style. So thank you for bringing that to the world.
Thanks. Yeah, and it's kind of like this service. And this happened. My background is with this podcast is during the pandemic, a lot of artists couldn't get out there. So they were doing these, concerts on Facebook or whatnot.
Sure. Yeah.
So I felt like, here's a format, here's a way to help get their word out and to really get their promote their material, especially their latest
Absolutely.
projects, which they did a lot from home, actually. They weren't going into recording studios. A lot of people were
Yeah.
doing stuff and sending files to each other and mixing and all that. So fascinating stuff. So yeah. Anyhow, so how did you get into all this and how long have you been in business now?
Wow. So loaded question.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I'm going to give away my age
Oh
really
yeah.
quick. Um, so my career in over the last 25 years has been in higher education, sales, and marketing. And I actually built that business for someone else, um, and was bringing in about $800,000 in sales annually for that company.
Hmm.
Then some, that rose over the years. And so the way I was doing that was nurturing and building relationships. Back when I first started, oh my gosh, it was the advent of the internet. Many people may remember the "you've got mail,"
I know. Hmm.
There's, I told you I'm aging myself.
Ancient
And
history.
so, it was all the rage. And what I decided to do was yeah, I'll use email and do all those things. But when I met with a client or a prospect, they renewed a campaign, they signed a new contract, what have you, I would actually send them a handwritten thank you card. It arrived in a real mailbox. And
Mm.
I know the novelty, right? Talk about vintage now. And so I would do that. And over the years, it got to be a lot. So think about the average sale was 12 to $15,000, sometimes a little more. So you can imagine all the thank you cards I was writing. And
Mm.
had an experience on a trip to Florida where I packed all my note cards, my stamps, pen, everything in this, gallon size baggie. In my suitcase it goes. And of course, my suitcase got stuck in Fort Lauderdale. They couldn't find it. I finally arrived in Miami in my room. And as I was unpacking, I unpacked the Ziploc bag, got to it, and everything was melted together.
Oh,
Could you imagine that?
what a
Oh,
heartbreaker, you
it's
know.
terrible. And
Oh
could
my
you
gosh.
imagine? I was there Monday through Friday. I had at least 3 or 4 meetings a day. At these meetings, there were at least 2 or 3 people at each. So I would send them all thank you cards. So now I had to come back to here in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of upstate New York and write all my thank you cards. That did not feel good.
Oh gosh. Your
So
hand must be so
it
sore.
was
Like, oh my gosh.
terrible. Oh my gosh. So I came across this technology where you could do all that online and it still would be personalized. You can customize, you can do all those things, and all the fulfillment was done for me. And they would mail it out, and I was a happy camper. Um, so fast forward to about 10 years ago, the company that I was with, they decided to sell off bits and pieces of the company. And I continued my work with in higher education because I joke you can take the girl out of higher ed, but you can't take the
Yeah.
higher ed out of the girl. So,
Yeah.
um, and it was 10 years ago that that opened the whole door to entrepreneurship for me. And basically what happened was people were asking me, how did you get all those sales? What were you doing? What were you doing differently and blah, blah, blah. Because in the sandbox that I played in, it was very competitive. And I said, well, it's all direct mail. And this is how I did it. Will you teach us how to do it? And I'm
Wow.
like,
Yeah.
whoa, okay, I can do that. Um, so basically that's where it all started from was wow, people really, are yearning to learn how to nurture those relationships, when to market, when not to. What's the secret sauce? What are the ingredients, right? How do I make this work? And that's where it all came from, was just, and then evolving into, wow, what could this be? So that's when I launched the Mailbox Maven.
Yeah. I love that name. Where does any inspiration for that name, where it came from?
Well, in doing my research and, finding out, well, I know what a mailbox is. Okay. But what is a maven, right? And then
Right,
if you
right.
put the two together, mailbox maven, that alludes to being an expert in direct mail marketing, right? Maven, the word itself, really implies someone who knows their stuff, right?
Hmm.
And not only knows their stuff, but is really passionate about sharing it and helping others succeed. And bam, that's where that was born.
Yeah, great name. And then designing this, and we could find you on the internet
You
at
can.
Mailbox Maven.
Dot
Is it
com.
.com? Just goes
Yeah,
right to it.
it does go.
Really nice logo and design. Are you into design, or you know the people? You're a maven at finding people who help you out.
I hope, yeah. I have a concept, and then I have a couple of different graphic designer girlfriends, and I'll throw it out to them and go, what do
Hmm.
y'all think? And you put out ten of those and 11 come back. So anyway, that's it. It's a combination of efforts that came through, and the tagline "Direct Mail Marketing for Direct-to-Door Success" seemed to be a really good fit because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's great to have a team that really understands what your needs are and your goals are, and they design something like that for you. And I get so depressed with the whole idea of AI figuring all that stuff out. We're not there yet, but it just really like puts me because I do some graphic stuff too, in addition to all the other things that I'm into, video editing, all that stuff. So
Right.
AI getting into it and like doing it, I think it's a ways off, and I hope it is like way after I retire. But I hope it's there to enhance instead of take over. But we've seen, gosh, these technologies have just gone by leaps and bounds. I mean, if you think about when you first started.
Right. So when I think about the internet and when I first started, I remember there were two salespeople in the office, myself and a gentleman, and we would have to go, I would have to go, Chip, I need to use the internet. Can you unplug? Because it was dial-up.
It was crazy.
I know.
You had to work for it. That was the whole thing with
And I did.
with anything in that. Just to get a connection, you had to work for it, the dial up, and it was just so slow. The kids today have no idea what we went through. We were fascinated at the time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's come a long way. So AI is now the new internet, right? If you think
Hmm.
about it. And I've had a lot of people who are really embracing it. I know they're embracing it and using it. And then there are those people who are going like this, not me. Keep that
Yeah.
thing away from me. And I said, you've got to know the devil you're dancing with.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
really do. You've got to know the devil you're dancing with. And it can either make you look really good or you could look like an absolute fool. And I've used it just to kind of brainstorm ideas and content and things like that. And some of the things it spits out, I'm like, if
Mm.
I posted that or if I
Yeah.
responded with that to someone, I would look like an absolute fool. Oh my God.
Do you do that in like emails, like going back and like it suggests how your reply should be, and then
Yeah.
it like does it for you?
Yeah. And I'm like, no, we can't say that. That would be really bad. I tried it with my husband, who's a tool and die maker.
Ah,
I said, give me an example and let's ask it ask it a challenge that you're having at work right now or have had maybe in the past. And he did. And we did. And it spit out in within seconds, And so I said to my husband, I said, Mark, read this. And he did. He says, it's not bad. Yet here in these particular sections, that would not work.
yeah, yeah, yeah. When it comes to language, it has a long way to go
It
and
does.
can embarrass you
It
if
could
you really go with
embarrass
it.
you. Yeah. So, it's got a long ways to go. And again, I go back to you've got to know the devil you're dancing with. And in my business, when I'm working with clients, it's been really helpful with, well, what do I say in my cards? Or, I'm like, okay, let's talk about that for a minute. And so I said, now plug into AI. What would you like to say? And
Yeah,
they do. And it's been really helpful for those sentiments to put in cards or for people to um, design a postcard, like a marketing postcard or something like that. Um, so again, it's been really helpful for things like that. But again, do not take it at face value.
yeah, yeah. So with your business, do you have a certain amount of clients that are in your roster? How does that work? Or we say the
Sure.
old
So
Rolodex.
oh yeah, my virtual Rolodex now.
Yeah,
Right? So basically, I partnered with a company that powers my brand. So rather than my brand being that company, that's one of the reasons I developed the other reason I developed the Mailbox Maven is not to brand myself to a particular company. So if this company were to fold tomorrow, which it won't, I still have my brand, the Mailbox Maven, and I could go somewhere else for another technology, another what have you. So I partnered with a company called Mailbox Power. They power my brand, the Mailbox Maven, and there are two options there. It's a membership based platform. And either I could manage their account based on the membership they're on, and I could do all that work. Our team can do all that work for them, create their cards, send them out, update their mailing list, upload their mailing list, buy them a mailing list. I mean, it's endless, right? Um, or I can help them get going and they take it from there. So, if I share that with 10 people, let's just use that as an example. I have 10 people who sign up for a membership. 8 or 9 of them will want it, the creative types, they want to take the bull by the horns and run with it, which is
Mm.
awesome. The other one says, hmm, what are you going to charge me an hour to help me do this?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And then we talk about what that would look like and what they're looking at doing, what that would, how many hours a week, a month that would involve. And eventually, what ends up happening is we work together for about 5, 6 months, maybe a little bit more, and then they get really comfortable and they have an admin or a graphic designer or somebody that are a virtual assistant. That's big these days, right?
Yeah.
So they have someone that does it, and I'll onboard them, and I'm there as, hey, I'll help you. Just reach out, text me, call me, whatever you need.
So yeah, these gifting and direct mail campaigns have got to be really unique in how they are developed, and it must
Mhm.
take a lot of thought process to really go behind the scenes and figure out your goals with every campaign.
Yeah, it's the back end work, once you get that, kind of all set to go, it's kind of like set it and forget about it. It'll just
Yeah.
do it itself, right? So a really good example is a lot of my clients send birthday cards. That's the big thing is birthday
Hmm.
cards, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's great. Um, and one of the things that I had advised some of them, and well, all of them, but some of them take me up on it, some don't. That's okay. Um, is to put a QR code in their birthday card
Hmm.
and to take them to a birthday song on YouTube. You pick a birthday song, and then when they scan it, um, brings up that song, right? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Um, and the other thing, depending on my clients, that QR code, this is how far technology has come. Oh, Lord. Um, with the system that I use, Mailbox Power, you can actually have a dynamic QR code. So when someone scans your happy birthday song, you get a notification that, Bob scanned the birthday card, right? So you can set that up, tell the system 2 weeks before, or whatever, how many amount of days, 14 days, whatever before this person's birthday, because it's already in the CRM, send them a birthday card, the birthday
Mm.
card you design. Still personalizes with their first name, the messaging is there, the QR code is there.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. Yeah, it's amazing how marketing works these days.
Mhm.
It
And
really
birthday
is.
marketing is amazing. It's really one of the least underutilized marketing concepts there's out there. Now, what would break that? What would make that really bad, right? What
Yeah.
could make birthday marketing really bad? And what makes it really bad is if you include in your birthday sentiment something other than a heartfelt birthday wish. And what I mean by something other is simply this. Hey, Bob, happy birthday. Hope
Yeah.
you have a great year, blah, blah, blah. And by the way, um, if you bring this card in the next time you eat at our restaurant, you'll get 20% off your second entree.
Yeah, yeah.
How is that happy birthday to me when I have to go buy something?
Yeah, so that kind of idea could backfire. You think you're roping them in with something really personal,
Mhm.
but it's kind of off-putting. It's like, oh, here's the catch.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, the other thing is holiday cards, Christmas cards. People are famous for doing this. Um, I actually did something, I did a Facebook Live on it where I had two holiday cards. They looked very similar. It was a beautiful house, all Christmassy, blah, 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 right? One That's all. I opened it up, that's all it was a mess, a really beautiful Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, blah, blah, blah. I took the other one, and because I didn't want to throw anybody under the bus, I just opened it and stuff fell out of it. Okay.
Mm.
And the stuff was um, asking for a donation for an end of the year
Uh,
donation.
yeah, yeah. Oh gosh.
Okay, that doesn't feel really good, you know?
No, not in that instance. Yeah.
No, it doesn't feel really good. So I really believe that business is built on relationships. So I made it and make it my business to build them. That falling out of the card stuff, yeah, no, we don't do that. I advise strongly against it. So 80% of the time, nurture and love on those people, right?
Yeah.
20% of the time, market, never marry the two, ever.
That makes sense. It really is off-putting if you're trying to do certain things like that. I could really see that.
Yeah.
So on your website, you have a lot of interesting stuff, and it links into Mailbox Power. That's a really,
Yes.
and it goes to a video on YouTube. It's really cool. I really like that. It
Oh,
really
good.
does
Thank
explain
you.
it.
Yeah. It's there are several other companies like Mailbox Power. What sets them apart, and the reason I decided to hitch my wagon to them, if you will, is because they are not a personalized greeting card and gifting company. They are a direct mail marketing, sales and marketing platform. So it's built by business for business. It just makes sense.
Yeah, it's really amazing. So going back through your history,
Sure.
where did you grew up in New York?
I did not. I actually was born in what today is known as Serbia.
Oh gosh,
And when
way
I
off.
was 4 years old, my parents, in the middle of the night, and I have to remember it was communist Yugoslavia at the time,
Mm-hmm.
my parents boarded a train in the middle of the night and left with
Gosh.
me, my teddy bear, a dolly that I had, and a green suitcase. I still have the dolly, I have the teddy bear, and the green suitcase is behind me.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it's a reminder to me of how brave my parents were. My mom in her mid 20s, dad in his mid 30s. And in the middle of the night, we took off and we landed in West Germany, where my dad had, well, it was his uncle, but not by like his father or mother having a brother or what have you. It was just like they called him his uncle. And he had a shoe store. He and his wife had a shoe store. And they got my parents jobs at the local lace factory. I went to kindergarten with the Sisters of Notre Dame. Look those
Mm.
up for back in the early 60s. The big hats and oh my God,
Wow.
the outfits they wore then. And we were there for about a year and a half. Mom and dad put in applications, immigration applications to Canada, Australia, and the United States. And whichever came in first, that's where they're going, right?
Mm.
And Canada came in day one, Australia the second day. But they made a deal, whoever came
Yeah.
in first. So I grew up in Toronto.
Interesting.
I grew up in
God.
Toronto, went to, elementary, high school, and college in Toronto. And then I got married for the first time in 19, in 1980 and moved here to Rochester, New York.
Okay.
And
So you ended up
so,
there.
yeah. And three beautiful children, one of who's in heaven. And
Mm.
then I got divorced,
Sorry.
remarried in
Yeah.
2012, and now I am an Oma, which is Dutch for grandmother. My husband's Dutch, so we decided to go
Ah,
with
okay.
Oma and Opa, and a little boy who's
Oh,
13 months old. Thankfully, he lives only a 25-minute drive away. And
nice.
a little girl and a little boy. Well, two little girls, sisters. Grace is 10, Eliza is 5, but they live in Stevenson, Alabama, which
Ah,
is for me
that's a little bit of a track.
about 1,000 miles on a good day.
Have you driven that going down to Alabama?
I do it in one day.
Yeah, I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. I've been
Okay.
in the
Yeah.
Atlanta, Georgia area now 36 years. I hate to give that away, but I just recently, all these years, this is, almost, we're looking almost at 40 years now. I swear, I think I've done the drive 3 times, 4 times, something like that over all these years. It's just a 12-hour drive. It's quite a journey for sure, but it's really pretty. I mean, this gorgeous
It
country, like a
is.
lot of countries. But yeah, wow, what a fascinating story. So, yeah, you were like early Cold War kid, like going way back to that. That's
Oh yeah,
East-West
it's
Germany.
crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy because my grandfather, my dad's dad, was military police in World War II. And I vaguely remember him, vaguely. Um, and he was part of the resistance. So when the Nazis came through um, his town, they ended up making an example of my grandfather,
Mm,
and they beat him to a hair of his life. Yeah. So, he was, and he knew about the Holocaust. He knew about all that going on, and he wasn't going to play that dirty with any that was wrong. And he fought for the resistance, and they made an example of him. And one of the reasons my father, we stayed in Yugoslavia as long as we did, even though I was 4 years old when we left, was until my grandpa passed away.
mm.
So that, he was able to take care of him. But yeah, my family's rich in history and, yeah, in defiance. So, um,
Yeah.
you
That's how
know,
you get it. That's how you become a strong business owner
I think
and
so. Yeah. I
operating
think
this world.
I know, I know. It's been a whirlwind. I love what I do. I love when I get a text message from someone that I've sent a card to that I've forgotten that I send it. That's the other thing. People expect that you'll comment or you'll reach out when you send them a card, they'll reach out to you. And I'll tell you this one last story. I have a
Mm,
financial advisor client, and every year we meet and we go over what we're going to do the following year, right? So what are we going to do? We probably meet around after Thanksgiving. So we're going to continue with the birthday cards. We're going to do Mother's Day. We're going to do Thanksgiving. We're going to do all those. Okay, great. And he's sitting across from me and
mm.
he's saying to me, he says, "Hey, T, I'm really wondering. I never get any comments or anything about the birthday cards I sent, or far and few between, of all the cards." And he sends thousands. So, and I sat there for a minute and I thought, how am I going to be eloquent about this? Because guess what? On his windowsill behind him were all the cards I ever sent him.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Neat.
So I said to him, I said, "Hey, those cards behind you that I sent." He goes, "Oh, yeah, I love them. They're out there, right?" I go, "Yeah. How many times did you tell me thank you or that you got them?" Never.
Mm-hmm.
No. And he looked at me, he goes, "Touche. All right, I gotcha." So the other thing is to be able to send things out without an expectation of anything else.
Yeah, yeah. I always like say, yeah, don't expect it. Because I think you'll really like kind of like depress yourself if you're really expecting responses, really with anything in life.
I
It's
agree.
like,
I
it's
agree.
nice to be surprised well rather than like you're really expecting a response from something.
Right.
And as far as response goes, like with analytics, do you see how many people are hitting your websites? Do you get into that?
We
Is
don't. We don't. I get the way that I'm seeing if, you know, people are responding to anything is in my cards for the most part. I put a PS and I
Yeah.
go, "Hey, I just want to be sure the post office is not on a long coffee break and that you got this card. Text me, let me know you received it." And I get at least 10, 12 text messages a day.
Oh,
So
good.
people do respond. Um, so I know that way. And then the dynamic QR code has been an absolute, it's changed things up dramatically. And that's the other thing. When someone scans that dynamic QR code, um, I get a text message, and it's also in my Mailbox Power back office to, how many scans I got, who did it, so I can see analytics that way.
Mm. So your background's education, what degrees? Do you have a master's with
I do not. I
education,
have a bachelor's.
bachelor's,
Yeah,
and sales and marketing? Did you study that very much formally, or you just
I did
basically
not.
learned?
So my background, believe it or not, I was a paralegal.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you just, yeah.
I was
And
a
one thing leads to
paralegal.
another. Yeah.
Yeah, so completely jumped ship. Um, and yeah, it was a whole way out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, yeah, that is.
But
I mean, it's
whoever
very
coined,
hard.
yeah, but whoever coined the phrase, all good things happen outside of your comfort zone, knew what they were talking about, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
totally knew what they were talking about. So, um, yeah, it was quite the jump for me, and I haven't looked back since.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so you must be a very quick learner, being able to just get in there. Sales and marketing, when people go and they study, they get masters or whatever, and it is. It's like one of the many fields, or maybe all fields.
Yeah.
You're really learning on the job. You're constantly learning.
Well, yeah, and I think to be successful in business or in life, really, you have to be a lifelong learner.
Yeah,
I have tons of mentors. They don't even know they're my mentors. Go to the books, go online, grab a book. Tony Robbins, John Maxwell,
yeah.
I mean, you can just go on and on. Og Mandino, if that man was still alive, I'd be stalking him. I'd probably buy a house next door. Um, but all those people, I've been blessed to have training from Dale Carnegie. I mean, the Dale Carnegie training. Dr. Ivan Meisner, who founded BNI, he and I have been 2 feet apart from each other. I've been learning from him. And there are so many more you know, that don't even know who I am or have never met me, but their books, their podcasts now, YouTube, y- lifelong learning.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And people say to me, well, you must be really good at sales. And I tell them I haven't sold a thing in my life. I've never sold a thing in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
That's
provide solutions, but I don't sell anything.
Yeah, which is very, very tough in and of itself is to say,
It
I'm
is.
in sales. Yeah, that's really tough to hustle and to be out there on your own. And, you have different sets of issues, like when you're working in a huge corporation, way different than the headaches you do as an entrepreneur. I mean, I'm sure you've got to deal with, your own paperwork, your own stuff into taxes and things like that. I'm sure it's a whole different ball game.
And I think when we have that, we need to surround ourselves with people who know. I would never dream of doing my own taxes, right? So
Yeah.
my CPA is worth his money. And it's just like, you wouldn't go to a dental surgeon for brain surgery, right? I mean,
Right, right.
so you surround yourself with people who know what you need, and you know what you need. You really do at the end of the day. And you interview them, you do your due diligence, and you're off to the races.
Yeah, and I really do believe that like micromanaging is a bad thing. You got to trust your team. You got
Yeah,
your experts or your mavens, your experts over here. And
yeah.
basically, yeah, you got to put it in their hands and trust them and let them thrive and they'll give so much more back to you. I Micromanaging, I think is one of the worst things,
It's
any
terrible.
yeah.
It's terrible. And after being an entrepreneur for so many years and working from home, um, I don't think I could ever go back to corporate America.
Hmm.
It,
Yeah, it's true. You got that freedom too. And to work
oh,
from home. Oh my gosh.
it's wonderful. It was interesting during the pandemic because people would say to me, well, you've been working from home forever. And before that, I was working from home. That's what I did. And I said, you're absolutely right. I've been working from home and I'm used to working from home. What I'm not used to is not being able to go out and have a cup of coffee at this local
Hmm.
Starbucks or the Dunkin', right? Or go out to Panera and have lunch with a friend or a potential business partner. That's where things were very different during the pandemic.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And that took all that away. That
It
that
did.
that part of the freedom. Yeah.
It
It's
did.
crazy. I mean, the technology that came in and we discovered during the pandemic, because
Right.
I was doing a lot of video production and would have to go in all the time. And then, hey, we could do this all remotely. And it hasn't changed ever since 5 years on now.
I know. I mean, a year ago, I was asked to become the president of one of our local chambers. We've got about 150 members. And I took on the challenge. I've never been the president of anything, let alone an organization of over 150 people, right? So, yet all our board meetings, our committee meetings, they've all moved to Zoom.
Yeah. Yeah. It's how we live now. It's
It's how we
totally
live. It's
Zoom.
Zoom. And there's so many wonderful things about it. Um, I see these people from my board, from my committees at events that we all go to now. But my gosh, it's opened up the entire world. I had a Zoom with somebody in India the other day.
Amazing.
Like, how does that even happen? And in Australia, I now have friends and connections in all over Australia, in Christchurch, New Zealand. And
Hmm.
so time zones are my kryptonite. Thank God for time for scheduling technology.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
but it's so funny because people will say, "Oh, did you get the winning lottery numbers?" I said, "You don't understand. That's not how it works. They're a day ahead of us, but that's not quite how it works. It's all right."
Amazing. Yeah, and on your website, this is interesting. So it says you have warehouse, equipment, team, and software. Is that all encompassed? Is that through your contacts, your
It's through
clients?
it, yeah, it's through Mailbox Power. So they have the
They got all that.
warehouse, they have the technology, they have the computers, they have the printers. They have the people boxing up the gifts and things like that, and sending out putting it all together, whatever the way the post office wants the mail sorted. I don't know. And they take care of all that,
Yeah.
which is a science in itself sometimes, I think. And so they take care of all that. I sat here this morning earlier and I had 5 cards I had to send out. Like I knew, these were all either celebrating someone, saying thank you, staying in touch. Sadly, one of them was a sympathy card. And I created it all from the same laptop I'm talking to you from. And
Amazing.
they're going to fulfill it. So I did it today. It'll go out tomorrow, and these folks will receive it sometime next week. And I didn't have to go to the Hallmark store, wherever people buy cards from anymore, go to the post office because God knows you don't have stamps at home. You're going to the post office. I don't have to stand in line anymore. They take care of all that.
Oh,
They take
how
care of
convenient.
all of that. And
Yeah.
holiday time, right? Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, my
Amazing.
higher ed clients, I would send them stuff as a thank you for their business. And I would be able to I could put it in this beautiful big black satin box with a big black satin bow. And inside could be brownies that have a label on it says thank you with their logo and mine, and um, candy and gourmet Rice Krispie treats and granola, and the list just goes on. And the comments, the feedback that I get, they're just always blown away. And it doesn't take that much time. And people think, oh my gosh, it's got to be horribly expensive. And I'm like, absolutely, it's not. It's not. And at the end of the day, what is your client value? It's a lot easier to keep a client than to get a new one, and it's a lot less expensive.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It definitely
Right?
is. Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting. The website shows, all the swag, all the
Oh
branded
yeah.
swag there. That's really cool. That's really, I think, very meaningful when you do
Mhm.
that. There's something very special about that branded swag.
There is. And what's wonderful is that you don't have to order hundreds of pairs of whatever, right? So it's print on demand. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can buy one t-shirt or I can create 100 t-shirts. Doesn't really matter, you know? So that's the great thing. I don't have to have inventory, I guess you'd call it, at home,
Yeah, it's
which
very,
is
very nice. You don't have to worry about that warehouse. I know somebody who's into that has his own warehouse and goes to trade shows. It's like, that niche comic book type trade shows and it has
yeah.
all that different kind of swag and it's a whole different world.
Oh
It's,
my God.
quite busy, but wow, the way you have to like haul things around and you have to
Yeah,
have
no
a
thanks.
trailer.
Yeah, I think I'll pass on that one. Mailbox Power actually had to build a bigger warehouse because they added on fulfillment for. So let's say you are let's say you manufacture, I don't know, t-shirts. Let's just say that. And you can actually send it to them. They will store it for you. And when you send the shipment and you want to send a thank you card with it, as an example, they'll fulfill the thank you card. They'll grab the t-shirt, package it all up, and send it out for you.
Mm. Incredible stuff.
It's
So yeah,
crazy.
yeah, that's really just yeah, it's fascinating to be working with people like that.
It is.
Yeah. So is who would you give advice if somebody wished to get into this? What kind of advice would you give now that you've have all this experience behind you? What would you say to somebody who's interested in doing this?
I would say to them, find someone that you can lock arms with, that you resonate with, and no matter what business you go into or whatever it is that you do, always work harder on yourself than you do on your business.
Yeah. Yeah, amen to that. That's for
Yeah, I
sure.
know, right?
Yeah, and get plenty of those Tony Robbins books and things like
Oh my
that.
gosh. Oh, it was, yeah, Tony. I met Tony many years ago in Toronto. He was doing a Unleash the Power Within event,
Mm,
and he'd run a contest where he would pick three people and they could be backstage. He paid for the whole thing, right?
yeah.
He paid for I was one of the three people
Oh,
that
wow.
that
Cool.
he picked. It was so fun. And I got to do the fire walk and everything like that. And it's just amazing how when you immerse yourself in experiences, the
Oh, yeah.
opportunities that open up for you, right? And how your perspective as well. You can relate to this, Bob. Challenges all day long, right? You
Oh,
get them
yeah.
all day long. So what do? Do you lean into them and deal with it, or do you cower, right? Or do you like step back and say somebody else can do this, right? Um, Last month I broke a tooth in the front. I mean,
And
not,
that just happened,
I
It's like,
know, right?
what?
Yeah, what the hell? So, sorry, oops.
I
Um,
know. Yeah, things like that do happen. I
right.
like,
But guess what? Very bad timing. I had my chamber's annual meeting. I had to speak for an hour and a half. I had no tooth
oh gosh.
in the front, right? And I ended up posting about it because it was quite the lesson for me. And I wanted to run the other way, right?
Yeah.
Run the other, not walk, run. I had face-to-face meetings that week.
Oh,
I wanted to run. And I thought, what can I do? Do I cower and get somebody else to do it? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have a little fun with it. And when we got in, when we got into the meeting or into the annual meeting, I said, you might notice a little difference in my smile this time around. And I just want to let you know that this year I've decided to prep for my pirate Halloween costume a little bit early.
yeah. Yeah, it's taking a situation like that. I'm sure it's a technique that somebody calls it, but like,
Yeah,
and
there's got
turning
to
that
be.
in.
Yeah, yeah. So I think really just working harder on yourself, having a sense of humor, and not taking yourself so dang seriously.
Yeah, That's it. You just relax and focus. And I'm sure
Right.
there's all kinds of advice out there. I think Tony Robbins is the guy who says you should take a cold shower every morning. I don't know
There,
if I can.
yeah, no, he can do.
I don't
Now,
know about
yeah,
that.
I know. Have you seen those? Like people have these tubs now where they cold plunge. Is that what they?
Yeah,
That
exactly. It's a
can you
thing.
see yourself doing it? Lord knows I can't.
God. Just for my feet, because that's where I have the issues now. It's the damn feet. It's like that helps when I do the cold therapy, but like the whole body, that's gotta be, yeah, that's, but if people get
Oh,
used to doing it,
I
it's
guess
a
you do.
thing.
I guess, I don't know. I mean, I love my hot bubble baths. I can't imagine getting into my tub filled with ice cubes. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, or doing the outside cold plunges, which you're
Oh,
up in the north there. I'm sure people, you're in the Finger Lakes area. That's, I'm sure it's fascinating that people
it's
like probably
beautiful.
do that. Yeah,
They do. They actually last weekend, Lake Ontario, right? Where I'm right
yeah,
by Lake Ontario. And they had the polar plunge last
ah,
weekend was
yeah.
horrific. Horrific. It was brutal. It was snowing, sleeting. It was windy. It was disgusting. It was below zero. And
Oh
they were
gosh.
walking into the lake wearing their swimsuits coming.
Oh gosh. Well, I'm sure we're recording this in the winter of 2025, so I'm sure you were looking forward to spring. We only have like 40 some days, hopefully.
One can hope. I mean, you're in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, yeah. We even got a little winter this year.
Did
It's
you?
been like
Okay.
5 years since we got something. Yeah.
God, I love Atlanta. It's one of my favorite places. Is 6 Feet Under still around? The restaurant?
Oh,
Right.
I don't think so.
Oh, bummer.
No, I really, yeah, a lot of restaurants come and go here.
Yeah, yeah. I was there. A friend of mine lived in Atlanta, and I was there on business, and he knows how much I love Gone with the Wind. And Margaret Mitchell is buried right across the street in the cemetery where 6 Feet Under was.
Oh, okay. I'll have to look that up. It's been a while since I've been down that way, but I
Yeah.
remember when they were restoring the Margaret Mitchell house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ironically, she was killed by a driver, which happens a lot here in Atlanta. The driving is so bad.
The traffic is
Oh
horrendous.
my God. It's just awful. That's why, I mean, I work sometimes from home, so I'm like half and
Sure.
half. And
Right.
oh, I dread it. I mean, I go 2 weeks at a time into the office, and at the end of the 2 weeks, I'm like, I've had enough. I'm glad I could do it now.
I don't know where, like, I was driving and it's two lanes and then it opens up and there's like eight. I'm
Yeah.
like, whoa, what just happened here? And you better be in the right one if you want to go where you're going.
Oh, I know. See, that was the whole thing. It's like, why did they come up with this idea? It's like a funnel in a way. It's like
Mhm.
three freeways converge at once here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Georgia 400, I-75, and 85 all converge at once, and they call that the downtown connector. And
Okay.
I'm like, who came up with this idea? Because everything was built up already. You couldn't like route the freeways around certain things, so that's why everything's combined
Crazy.
all into downtown.
Right. It's crazy.
Gosh. Well,
I don't know.
anyway,
I don't know.
yeah.
Just I love Atlanta. I remember being there one February and being up on the roof of the hotel because it was so warm and I was sitting out there. But
Yeah, it's weird. It goes up and down. We get these spring previews,
sure.
which we did on Monday was gorgeous. I went for a run. I felt really good. And then it just went down, down, down. We're gonna go back up again. I think this weekend goes down. We're gonna get some rain. We got a lot of rain yesterday. It's just,
Yes.
yeah, it's a yo-yo effect in the wintertime. And then we just boil from June all the way through almost mid-October. It's just stifling hot.
Oh, I remember. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like that's why I don't go to Alabama. Once May hits, see ya.
Yeah.
Not going unless one of the grandkids has something going on um or something family oriented is happening. I'm not going down there.
Yes, Alabama
Yeah.
of all places. That's just way different from what you know, being in Toronto, being in upstate New York, and places like that.
It's crazy. And what's even crazier? So being in higher ed, right? Um, one of the campuses I used to visit, um, I'm driving to my daughter's house for the first time. going another route, right? And they're telling me, "Oh, mom, take this route because um it'll get you here 3 hours sooner." I'm like, "Really? Without speeding? Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay." So, I'm driving along and I'm like, "Wait a minute, this looks really familiar."
Yeah.
And I look over and I'm like, "Oh my God, I've been there. That I've been to that college campus." I keep driving and I was literally 10 minutes from my daughter's house.
Oh, wow.
My life had come
Life
full
is,
circle.
it does, doesn't it?
And it's crazy. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
really
It's
is.
wonderful.
Well, I appreciate you stopping by. It's a lot of
Oh,
fun.
thank you for having me. Absolutely. I enjoyed our time together. And again,
Yeah,
thank you for being flexible with your scheduling.
absolutely. Take care and best wishes in business and in life
Thank
in
you.
general.
You also take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Isn't that fascinating? I'm sorry, but it really, really is. It's really interesting to talk with somebody who is not in the field of the arts and somebody who's on the other side of things and is in business. I really do get fascinated with that. And she's not the first one who I've spoken with on this podcast that's outside of the realm of arts. So, but it is an art. It is an art. Entrepreneurship is an art. So this is a pretty broad term. Anyway, I'll have a new episode out pretty soon, and talk with y'all later.